Okay, well, it's been a while. Welcome to what my garden looks like in April. We'll start with the wildlife corner. It's a mess. This was supposed to be my early spring project, but the weather was quite terrible most of March, so nothing has been done, and it's not that nice. But things are growing. So that is a peony. And these are some aquilejas, columbines, and there is a ladybug. There's plenty of ladybugs actually. The pond is neglected, very, very neglected. It's quite terrible. That needs to be fixed and clean, but there are lots of bees, so the bees are still using it. If you can see, there's lots of bees having a drink. This really needs to be fixed and cleaned up, but it's not really on my to-do list right now. But there is still plenty of things growing, like some sedum. And this is comfrey. More aquilegia. I believe that is valerian right there. And yes. So it really needs to clean out. I'm debating whether or not to just turn this into a pumpkin patch this year, and then focus on turning this back into a wildlife corner next year. But we will see. Opposite, there's not really much either. I hadn't pulled out my dahlias during the winter, so I'm pretty sure all my dahlias are dead, because we had a very, very hard winter, and hard winters tend to kill off dahlias, so unfortunately I'm pretty sure they're all gone, which is disappointing, but it's okay. They were quite old tubers anyway. I still need to clean up this bed. This bed is mostly clean, and the front needs a bit of attention as well. This bed is a bit of a mess. This is there's two calets, I think, or a couple of calets. You can see underneath there. So these are calet plants that I've just kind of left. I wanted the insects to be able to eat something and hide in something over the winter, and now they are flowering. You can see that. I need to take these out, but I'm lazy. So that should be easy enough to do. And behind the calets is my strawberry patch. They look pretty good so far. They're growing, they're regrowing, getting green again. It may need to be pulled out at the end of this season, because usually strawberry plants need to be changed after 3 or 4 years, and I think I bought these in 2023. And this bed is nice and clean, which is nice. I have some things in this one, so I think this plant is a feverfew, a type of feverfew. A ladybug. And I've also got some Egyptian walking onions that don't look too healthy, to be honest. Look a bit yellow. That is a self-seeded parsnip, but because it's been there since last year, I'm pretty sure it's going to go to seed. And then behind the parsnip is my sage bush, which I grew from seed, I believe, 2 years ago. This bed is a bit of a mess. There's a lot of weeds. This is also another Egyptian walking onion. And a lot of self-seeded violas. And I remember I took a few plants out last year and potted them up, but I can't remember what they were. And there are, I would say, thousands of self-seeded coreopsis. So all of these are self-seeded coreopsis, which I need to thin out, maybe put elsewhere in the garden or just compost. In that bed, it's half empty, kind of a little bit weedy, and then there's one really big cornflower in the middle that I've let grow. This is my garlic bed. So on the weekend, I half weeded the bed. So you can clearly see where I stopped weeding the bed because I got distracted and started doing other things. So this side is quite nice and tidy, and then this side has a lot of dead nettle. And apart from that, on this side there isn't really much. They're still kind of covered up. Not really anything. Those are garlic chives, which are perennials, so that's why they're still alive. Apart from that, there's nothing in this bed. This bed is empty. This bed at least has a few things, which I can show. I don't want to take the net off, but let's see. So we have a few leeks and some chard in the back as well. But the leeks are looking very nice. I've never really had success growing leeks because I tend to get allium leaf miner, but the netting seems to have stopped that from happening with these ones. This side is also quite empty. We weeded it heavily on the weekend because we are going to redo these 3 beds. So we're going to remove the bricks and we're going to replicate the 4 beds, the 4 wooden beds on this side as well, because eventually I'd like to have 4 wooden beds here and 4 wooden beds there, because I find 4 is a little bit more manageable in terms of breaking up space in sections for maintenance. So I will have to weed that. That is sea beet. And it is going to flower. So when leafy greens go to flower, they usually are not nice to eat anymore. But I did harvest some on the weekend, and I made some sea beet fritters, which were really nice. And these are some plants I have not gotten around to putting in the ground yet. So these 2 are lavenders, and they're both dwarf varieties that don't get bigger than 30 centimeters. And these 2 are valerians, and this one is a black currant, and that needs to go in the ground because it's flowering already. And this one is a compact mulberry, and that's also started leafing. But it said it can stay in a container, so I'm thinking of just leaving it in a container. So in this part of the garden, it's quite shady sometimes. In the summer, this is very shady. And these are wild garlic. So I bought a few of them, and I would like to eventually have them all the way up this area and let them spread, so it will be a border of wild garlic in the spring. And my apple tree is blooming, which is really, really nice. I will have to set up traps for codling moths this year because I had a codling moth issue last year. So before these start fruiting, I'm gonna buy a trap. And this border is so messy, but I have added a few things. So that is a black raspberry, and this is a black raspberry I planted 2 years ago, but it hasn't actually fruited yet. I think there were too many weeds, so it kind of suppressed it, but these are new. This is new growth, so hopefully canes should grow this year. So yeah, these are 2 black raspberries, this and that, 2 black raspberries. I bought a dwarf pear tree. I'm not a huge fan of pears, but I was interested in getting my own pear tree. This one really interested me because it is a duo pear. So there are 2 varieties on this tree, and this tree only grows to 1.5 meters, so it's not too big, which is perfect for this size garden. And I believe the 2 varieties are Conference and another one, I can't remember the name, I'll put up on the screen, but basically they've grafted 2 different varieties on this tree. So then I have 2 different varieties of pears on one tree, and I think that's really nice. And behind that, I believe that is also a black raspberry. I think I bought 2 new black raspberry plants, so that's also a black raspberry. These are all weeds. These are volunteer poppies. That is 4 gold raspberry, which is a golden raspberry, and I also got another 4 gold there, and I planted that one recently. And I got a thornless blackberry called Chester. And one more addition, I bought another plum tree. But this is my favorite variety of plum. It's Rhine Claude Vert, which is a green type of plum, and it is very sweet and really hard to find in the grocery store or the fruit stores when it is plum season. My established opal plum tree just finished flowering. So if you can see, the flowers are spent. I do have a nice photo of it when it was in full bloom. And we didn't have a big freeze or anything during flowering, so there's so many flowers. Hopefully I don't get that many plums, because I have had a extraordinary plum year and that was overwhelming. But I also, in preparation for summer pruning, I've tied where I want to cut in the summer, because when it is summer and it's full of leaves, it's quite hard to see the actual structure of the tree. So I thought if I tied where I want to cut in the spring, it should be easier in the summer to prune it back. And I'm going to do a quite heavy prune because the tree gets so hard to navigate under when the fruit's set. The branches droop almost to the ground, and I'm afraid it will split the tree, because if you can see, There's a V right there, and I'm always afraid that the weight of the fruit will split the tree in half and then I lose my plum tree, and I don't want that. And then underneath, this was a project from a couple of years ago. I bought a few hellebores and put a few bulbs underneath, and now it's quite established. And these are some beautiful tulips that I bought a long time ago, I think 3 years ago, and they still look amazing. We have some grape hyacinths and a lot of self-seeded hellebores. I'm thinking about maybe transplanting these hellebores in other parts of the garden, because it'd be a shame to just compost them. And behind that area is just our rain barrels and the compost bins, which is nothing special. And this is what is currently growing in the greenhouse. Okay, I'll start from the back and go to the front. But currently in the greenhouse it is 30 degrees Celsius. So in Fahrenheit, that is the highest and the lowest, as well as the current temperature in Fahrenheit. So these are zinnias. This is a zinnia tray, and they finally have sprouted. And those are the varieties that I have of zinnia. And behind that is a tray of sunflower. So we have some pro-cut plums, pro-cut white knight, and another one called sunlit days. And yes, these are also pushing up as well. These are a few brassicas. So I believe there's some cabbage, cauliflower, and some broccoli. And this on this side is a lot of chard. So this is rainbow chard. Oh wait, this one is peppermint chard. These ones are peppermint, and these ones are rainbow. So you can kind of see on the stem what color they are. This one looks red. This one looks orange, if you can see that. So there's a lot of chard, probably more chard than I need, but I heavily sowed the chard seeds because they were very old seed and I didn't think they were viable, but they were. So that's why I have a lot of chard, which is fine. I like eating it. And then behind that we have some broad beans. These really need to be planted. These are way too big to be in little pots. They are tiny little pots. They should really be in the ground. But I've been waiting for the new beds to be made, because I want to put them on that side of the garden. And these are also sunflowers, but they have not sprouted yet. I believe these are a dwarf variety that don't get more than like 30 or 40 centimeters. Here I did a big clean out of my onion seeds. So I have a lot of different onion varieties because onion seeds don't last very long. So usually they expire quite quickly. So some of these are new seeds and some of them are not. Most of them are not, but they are looking quite nice and healthy. And these are probably ready to put in the garden. So this is Red Baron. This is a shallot. I have some Walla Wallas, and these are two pepper plants that are just in this with the onions. And in front of them I have some lettuces. This is called tuber, and it's looking really nice. So actually these can probably be planted out. I sowed these in February. And here is another variety that did not sow as nicely as the tuber. This is called Amish Butterhead. and the spinach does not look nice at all. So these spinach seeds were very old, and you can kind of see how old seeds affect growth, because compared to these were very fresh seeds compared to seeds that were out of date. You can really see the difference. And next to my lettuce, this is my cosmos tray, and we do have a few cosmos seedlings already shooting up. I really love cosmos and zinnias in the garden, so that's why I have a lot of different varieties. And I know these are also cosmos, but these are also dwarf varieties that don't get higher than 40 centimeters. Cosmos is usually around a meter and a half. They can get quite big. This section is a mix of sweet peppers, chilies, and aubergine / eggplant, depending on where you live. All of these were grown by seed and were started on the 1st of January this year. And they have gone crazy. These are the biggest plants I've ever grown. If you can see, it's April, so 4 months later, and they are massive. I bulked up their potting soil with some blood and bone. It was a mix of blood meal and bone meal, because in the Netherlands you can't get it together like you can in Australia. And I also mixed their soil with vermiculite, and they really enjoy it, and they look very, very healthy. And for peppers and aubergines, I have planted 3 in a pot. Usually that's not how you do it, but I did it anyway, and they seem to not mind it. So it looks very full, and I will plant them all together to aid with pollination. And the reason why I have so many varieties, I would say I would have maybe 10 varieties of aubergines and 10 varieties of sweet peppers, is because I went through my seed stash and literally sowed all seeds that were older than 5 years. I just wanted to clean out my seed stash, and a lot of them were still viable, but a lot of them were not. So I would say on this side, these are just dahlias. So I did buy a few dahlias. Not much is happening, so we do have a shoot there and a shoot here. So I will have some dahlias in the garden, which is always nice. I really love dahlias. And then next to them, I have some marigolds, some cornflowers, and some borage. So that's all I have in the greenhouse so far. I do have a lot of plants at my home still. I also bought 2 new things for the garden. So this is like a little mini bird bath, which when I saw in the garden center, I had to get it. It was 25 euros. It's so cute and small. And I also saw a bigger version. So that is the bowl for it. And then over here is the foot for the bird bath. And it was quite expensive, but it's not common to see these in the Netherlands. This is the first season I've ever seen bird baths, ceramic bird baths, that big in a garden center. So I bought it because my sister. And then if you can see here, this is my collection of thrifted wine coolers. I collect wine coolers because I use them as oyas. So this is officially an oya. You fill it up with water. You bury it in the ground. Well, first you should bury it in the ground, and then you fill it up with water, and then because it's ceramic, the water leaches out and waters the plants near the oya. So I believe this was like 20 euros because it's officially an oya. These, when you go to a thrift shop, or they're called kringloops in the Netherlands, these are like, I think the most I've ever paid for one was 3 euros, and I thought that was quite expensive. One I remember I got for free because he didn't have a price, and the man just gave it to me for free because he didn't care. But if you can see, this one I buried last year, and obviously this one I also buried last year, and those two watered my pumpkins, and those pumpkins were really nice and big. So now I have a few more, so I will put them around the garden this year. And this one might have to not use the cork. I don't want the cork to get too weathered in the elements. But that is my greenhouse right now. And that was the tour for April 2026. I didn't really want to do a tour because there really isn't much to show you, but it's always nice to see the gradual process within a garden. It's always changing, it's never the same. So one April can look completely different to another April. Thanks for watching, bye!